Hey, what's up, guys? This is the Determined Trader, and today I wanted to talk about what happens when you have trade setups but they don't work, right? And I think it's very important to talk about this, especially in this video. Now, there wasn't any trade setups in particularly. There was some. There was a silver bullet trade, but it didn't match with my rules, so I didn't do anything. But what I really wanted to talk about, and hopefully I don't go off topic, but I really wanted to go over on what happens when you see a setup and you take the setup because you saw the setup, right? And this is where things get separated when it comes to trading ICT concepts. Although it is a setup and it is, um, you know, it is an actual trading setup, meaning if it's part of your rules and you see it, you see it with your eyes, right? That particular, thing, that that trade setup that you see, is that a valid trade? And I wanted to go over that because is it really a valid trade? Is it really? Because if you're trading ICT concepts, the answer is no. And I'll go over that and what I mean, right? So if you're trading using ICT concepts, is it a valid trade setup? The answer would be no. Now, is it a valid trade setup based on probabilities? That would be a yes. Now, who do you want to be, right? And this is when a lot of traders, and what ICT talks about, where there's that separation of traders and separation in precision in what he does. And just because you see a trade setup doesn't mean that it's a valid trade setup based on the concepts. It just means that it's another probability that could go in your favor, and that's it. At least if that's how you want to trade. Now, if you want to apply ICT trade setups, then the answer is no, there is no trade setup and there's nothing to do, right? And so I wanted to go over that today. So let's get to it. Now, I did want to start off with euro dollar because that's the one where I was actually looking at it from. If you guys have been following me, I've been talking about a particular setup that I've been watching, and this is one of them in here where the order block holds. So this would count as one, and then we make another move up. This here creates a small little fair value gap. This is on the 2-minute, by the way, right here. And this is where, according to the trade setup that I've been talking about in my previous videos, you can see that that would be what looks like a valid trade setup, right? However, if you're trading with ICT concepts, it's not a valid trade setup. And the reason why it's not is because, and you'll notice this big old thing that I just drew right now, and the reason why it's not a valid trade setup to take as a long position is because if you look at the daily, you can see that we've been what? We've been going lower, right? And as far as I'm concerned, this right here, this little area here is a fair value gap. When the market went higher, actually, let me see if I can just leave this here so you guys can see just real quick. So what happens here is that when the market went higher over here on this side, this is where this was being rebalanced, right? That fair value gap, or this SIBI here, was getting pretty much filled in this area, and this was during a London session. Let me just remove that now. The point was to show you the guys that it went higher. Actually, it went higher during London session, came in lower, and you can see the pressure in the market was to head lower. And during this during this time, this 9:30 stock market open, I wanted this level here to be broken, and then to see a move here. This would have been a market structure shift, and then hopefully, get a move back up in here to get filled and then sell it. And then obviously there was some double bottoms down in here. If we take a look at this right there, there was a move from yesterday's move here. This was the 11 a.m. to London session here, where that created that double bottom, and then that went in here. But you can see obviously we did not take out that, and that obviously that didn't count, so it doesn't count as a move. So with that being said, you can see how a setup can form. However, it's not valid based on the concepts ICT teaches, because you're not applying higher time frame analysis. Now, once again, I understand we're below midnight, and as how I mentioned before, this is part of a general rule. It's not the holy grail, and just like how ICT has mentioned, any one of his techniques, when applied in a setting where it's not in favor of the higher time frame, that is where you will see the trouble and you will lose. And so this is why he mentioned, it's also mentioned that if you lose, it's because it's your fault. You read it wrong. You read the market wrong. Okay? And if you read it wrong, then that means you got to change something. You got to change what? Or you got to learn something. There's something more that you got to learn, right? And so with that being said, you can easily see that in here, this is daily. We had a little area here where the market went right up in there once again, right? That was right here. We headed straight back down. News at 8:30 a.m. There isn't really an opportunity here to do anything, and like I said, I was looking for this to get taken out above here, around this. Actually, I would have loved to have seen a Judas swing at the 9:30, since there wasn't really any red news at the 10 a.m. and so I would have loved to have seen that to get this whole area get taken out, and then this keep going. So you can see that. Obviously, we did have a fair value gap here on the 15-minute, which I drew, but that was also my target area, so that's why I had that. And anyways, so there you go. So this is where you guys have to kind of make a choice. Are you just gonna try and figure out? And sorry, I think my dog just keeps barking. I don't know if you guys could hear it, but apologize for that. She loves to bark at whatever that moves. Anyways, so as I was saying, you guys have to make a choice what it is you want to do, because obviously you can make things simple and just be a one-dimensional trader and kind of just do this based on setups. But once again, right, you're not going to get the precision that ICT gets, right, or any other of his students that know what they're doing. And I'm not stating that I'm that I'm the best guru or best student, whatever. Like, there's a lot more way better students that are in ICT's Twitter, that follows him on Twitter. So I'm just letting you guys know, because if you're watching this video, then you're obviously interested in what I'm doing in ICT, in trading, and you're interested in learning more about ICT, and you're probably already doing it, and you're on the journey to build up your own thing and do your own thing on your own. Obviously, if you're struggling, these are the things that you got to look at, and it does take time to understand that. Okay. And so going over that's that for euro dollar, what I wanted to go over. For ES today, once again, we're still pretty much ranging in that area. Let me just show you guys that on the daily. And yeah, we're pretty much still ranging here from this fair value gap to this fair value gap. So we're pretty much just in range mode, and we're probably waiting for those big news coming out on Friday. I believe we got Powell that's going to speak. A few things coming out, and you can see that it was just ranging. That's really all it's been doing. So I'm just going to remove those real quick here. You can see the market hasn't really been wanting to close above or below it, and you can see this is the reason why it's kind of just been ranging. And there was a silver bullet trade setup here where the market went up in here, and then the setup was in this here to take out this sell stops right here. I did not do this. The reason why is because in the midnight here, I would have loved to have seen this level get taken out, the buy side. Buy stops get taken out and then go down, break through this low, and then come back up, sell it, and then be able to get that sell stops here. That's what I would have loved. I would have loved that. That would have been a perfect setup, but that didn't happen. We did not take out these highs, and so I figured maybe we get a setup to go long and then take out the highs, which was right here where I was watching. It went down in here, went up, filled this fair value gap, came down, took sell stops here. And then I would have loved to have seen this close above, but it didn't. And then either way, there was no fair value gap here, so there's no reason to take a trade anyways, right? So nothing that I did here, but I did, like I said, I was watching this. So I just, to my liking, it wasn't what I wanted, because once again, I saw all these stops up here. 100% people have their stops. And I was kind of waiting for that to get taken out, and then everything else after that, it's just choppy. So that's unfortunate. I was watching Nasdaq, so let me bring in NQ Nasdaq, where if we look at this on the 5-minute, you can see this double bottoms here got taken out at the 5 a.m. news here as well, and you can see that here. Let me go on the 1-minute. This might have been a setup. No, I mean, you can see it just went both ways. To me, we took out both sides of that were in play in here. Even this high as well was just about right there. That was taken out right here on this wick, and then this was also taken out. There's a fair value gap here. If you're comfortable with this would be a sell opportunity if you have an idea where it's going. However, NQ favors is to go higher. That is a buy, and so that would have gone against the grain. I was watching this, and then when I saw these double tops, this is actually, by the way, this is my mistake here. Once again, like I said, I'm not the best trader here, but when I saw this and it took out these double tops up here, I was actually looking to sell it, and there was no actual trade setup here to be able to sell it. There was this where this happened here, and then we went down, and once again, right, this is where we talk about, you know, the setup where the market did it held here. Yes, it did. So that would have been 1, and then 2 would have been here to sell it. But you can see you can't just sell it blindly because you see a setup. You have to look at what it is as a narrative. What's the narrative? What's the bias? If you look at NQ, we've been grinding higher. We held here at this level, this little order block here, and you can see it's just been going higher. And so that's the bias, right? And so that would be the bias. And then what's the narrative here? At 8:30 a.m. news, we took out sell stops. And then what? After 9:30, we went all the way back up, took out buy stops, and then we went back into this fair value gap area, and then to buy it. So this would have been actually a buy opportunity. If you look at the 15-minute, that looks so much better here. You can see that. Actually, let me expand that. You can see that right here. That looked really nice to take it as a buying opportunity. But like I said, this is where I read it wrong, and because I was focused on ES, and also was looking at euro dollar, mainly ES though, when this was happening right around this area. So that's really this area right here where I was waiting for this to get taken out and then possible buy opportunity, but that didn't happen. So my favorite to trade would be ES as opposed to NQ, especially because I just brought NQ into play, and so I need to start watching NQ more closely. But you can see, like I said, that was my mistake, and the reason I know I didn't take a trade and so on and so forth. But what I mean on the mistake was that I was reading it wrong when obviously the bias and the narrative was to buy it, and instead, like I said, I was watching ES, made me miss NQ. So, and like I said, I had my whole idea of NQ was already wrong to begin with. But anyways, you can see here there was the buy opportunity. There's a fair value gap right there, and that was would have been a beautiful buy to take it higher. Take out buy stops up here, and so yeah, and like I said, and on the 15-minute, this is a beautiful 2022 model. So for you guys that think that you need to trade on lower time frames, you can see on the 15-minute, as long as you are looking at the daily and weekly bias and it's with the trend, then that's what you can do. Now, as how ICT mentioned, you don't need to trade with the trend. You can trade whether or not you're with it or against it. Right? There's no need to do that. But for starters, it's better to do it because the moves is just a lot more easier, and you can see as soon as if this would have been a buy, the market with little to no effort just quickly started going higher as opposed to it going down, and that would have been the trade as I mentioned. But anyways, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and like I said, think about what type of trader you want to be, and you're gonna have to realize that it's gonna take a bit longer than what you expect. So you can't expect to trade for 3 months and say you're the best. That's just not how it works. This thing takes a little bit of time. It takes time for you to see the setups, to be able to read the market and listen to your analysis that's within you, right, and be able to trust it, which is another thing. And so anyways, stay disciplined and stay humble, people.